Let's shift it over to the West Coast now. You got the LA Rams.
Yeah.
The LA Chargers. And now the Raiders headed to Las Vegas. They want to play in the desert. How do you feel about the Raiders going to the desert?
I mean, I think the Raiders are a Vegas team. If you're gonna have a Vegas team, it's the Raiders. I'm worried about the team. I'm not saying that guys have a tendency on that team. I don't know any of them, but I think people overall have a tendency to get sort of wrapped up in the Vegas-ness. Best way of saying it. So I think they're gonna be guys who are gonna get in trouble with the law. Guys who will get into trouble with women.
A lot of temptation out there.
A lot of guys getting in trouble with drugs. And possibly guys getting in trouble with gambling. I think they call it Sin City for a reason.
And you also have to realize saying what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
No.
Except for when there's sports reporters and everybody just staring down everybody's back.
Exactly. And you know what? If I'm the spouse of a player there and we're buying a home near that area, I don't want to raise my kid near that. I've never heard of like somebody being raised in Vegas and not being a degenerate. It's like New York State has Regents exams. You have to like pass a deviant test in Vegas, and like, all right, you're allowed to do whatever you want with your life now. Don't come to school anymore.
Exactly.
It breeds.
Their driver's test is like coloring in kindergarten. As long as they stay between the lines, they'll get a license.
Mommy loves you. That's it. That's
right.
it. It's. We're gonna see. Honestly, for me personally, as somebody who likes to like tweet about funny stuff, talk about outlandish things in the sports world, like I'm kind of digging the Vegas Raiders. Kind of digging it because I know there's going to be some stuff that just will blow my mind, and I'll just laugh about it. But if you have a team that's built to win within the next few years, I don't know if I will. If the Raiders had a crappy team, and I'm a Raiders fan, I'm all about it. But you don't want guys, and they're mostly in their mid-20s, going to Vegas and just crumbling.
This is true.
It's going to be a debacle.
I agree. I would agree. Do you have anything else from the NFL front? Or should we go on to the next?
Just the draft coming up, which is probably my Christmas. Love the draft. Of course, we all know Myles Garrett's going to go number one. Is he the best pass rushing prospect we've seen in the past few years? Maybe. I hate this whole term, can't miss prospect, because we really don't know. So we'll see with that. And then the rest of the draft is up in the air. I love the Ohio State guys. Love Malik Hooker, free safety from Ohio State. Ball hawk. On the right team, could develop into another Ed Reed. Marshawn Lattimore, he's got hamstring problems, like him too. Fournette, of course, he's gonna be a great running back. Maybe this is the most popular draft story, but I'm curious as to where Christian McCaffrey's going to go, because he's definitely a top 3 draft running back prospect in the draft. He's got everything, so really up in the air. But it's a great draft. It's a lot of talent. O.J. Howard's one of the best tight ends I've ever seen.
I think it's definitely a defensive draft, though.
Oh yeah. The first top 10, I think we're going to see a lot of defense. Really.
I watched another video today on an Alabama linebacker. His name is Reuben Foster. This kid, crazy. And the best part about Reuben Foster is he actually spells his name like the sandwich.
Which is phenomenal.
I think that's classic.
Phenomenal. Alabama over the past few years has been like a linebacking. You can call it linebacker year. It's taken over for Penn State. You've got Reuben Foster coming out. You had Reggie Ragland, who was injured last year for the Bills, but he's going to be a great player. You've had Dante Hightower, Courtney Upshaw. A lot of guys. They also have Tim Williams, who's a pass rusher, OLB, coming out. Ryan Anderson, another one. So, they have a lot of great players. My favorite Reuben story, have you heard this one from the draft? So he was injured, and they were getting their medicals done at the local hospital during the combine, and they were taking too long, and he had a little fit, and then he was kindly asked to leave the combine.
Yes,
He's
I
like
read
told to
that
go.
today.
And I didn't know the whole detail, so I'm like, my first reaction was like somebody's hands were too cold when they told him to turn his head and cough. But I mean, the guy seems to
and
be.
You gotta understand, if that was the case, somebody's checking your bag,
and it's too cold.
Give a courtesy.
Just warm it up.
Together,
warm it up.
Friction. Warm it up.
You got the gloves on. Come on.
Yeah, have some respect.
Let's be real.
And what about Watson? Where do you think he goes? Think he goes top 5 probably, or
Deshaun? I don't think it's gonna. I don't think we're gonna see a quarterback until between 10 and 20.
But you think he'll be the first quarterback to go?
I don't.
Or will it be Big Mitch?
I think it's going to be Mitch.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be Deshaun. I think guys have a lot of issue. Teams have a lot of issue with his size. Winners win. 39-3. I think he went, but he might have a Greg McElroy problem. Remember, Greg McElroy, I think, only had 2 losses in his entire career. AJ McCarron had only a few losses. And Greg McElroy's like
AJ
SEC
McCarron
network.
had a beautiful girlfriend too.
Yes. Oh, smoke show, without a doubt. But in terms of in the NFL, a lot of these NCAA winners don't make it. So I'm a little hesitant because of the past trends.
I agree. It could be the size of the ball, could be the speed of the game.
Yeah, it's a.
Like I said before, these defenses, college and pro, have gotten so fast.
It's amazing, and you know what?
I can't remember which defensive player it was. They ran like a 4.5, 4.6 40 this.
I think Myles Garrett ran something like that.
Unbelievable.
And he's 270 pounds.
Imagine that hitting you. Enough said.
No.
Enough said.
And it's like, imagine like LeBron. LeBron played football, and he was a wide receiver. And, I mean, in high school. But, of course, he's like, this is 12 years later, 13 years later. But imagine him playing wide receiver at 6'8", 280, 270, 280. And he's fast.
Oh, man.
This is something I can't fathom because I'm a fat person sitting on my couch constantly, so I can't deal with it.
The only time I'm fast is when I'm playing video games. And
That's it. That's it. Thumb speed. That's all that matters for us. Thumb speed.
I think that's all I have for football for now.
All right, sounds good. What's the next topic?
Next topic is the green jacket.
Love it.
The PJ Masters coming up this week.
Love it.
And trying to think who my pick will be this week. Being a Phil Mickelson fan, I always try to pick Phil, but Phil's also getting a little bit older. He is in the top 10 right now in putting though, which is pretty crazy.
Phil's going to be the oldest to win the Masters. He's 48. Is it going to be this year? No. Is it going to be this year? No. I don't think Phil's going to win it this year. 48 years old though. I think he's going to be a contender into his mid-50s because that's Phil. I don't think it's Phil's year. Who do you think the favorite is?
The favorite's got to be DJ right now. Dustin Johnson's he's basically on target with everything. He's got his putting down. He's hitting the ball. He hit a ball during the match play tournament.
Yeah.
428 yards.
Ridiculous.
That's nuts.
Ridiculous. And the guy is skin and bones. He's just, and there's nothing really to him. He's the favorite. Would I be shocked if he doesn't win? No. I never count out Jordan Spieth, even though he's only won it once. I do think the kid he comes up big, and I think he's got a shot.
I'd say Patrick Reed is a shot also.
I love Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed is
the bulldog.
He's exactly, and he's a competitor. He might be the most competitive person.
And I believe he went to Augusta State College. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
I think he started off at Georgia and then transferred to Augusta State. So
he's a hell of a player. He's a competitor. He's definitely a fan favorite. You can't count out Bubba. Bubba's won twice in the past 5-6 years,
and he has his putting down right now.
He does.
Putting is on.
And the great thing about Bubba is he's a shot maker, and he's just so creative with it. So he's definitely in the hunt.
I would have to agree with that. Do you have a favorite Masters moment?
I do, and it was the first Masters I ever watched from Thursday to Wednesday. It took me Thursday, to Sunday, and it took me a few years to get on the Wednesday bandwagon of the par 3 contest. But it was the '97 Masters. It was Tiger, 18 under, just amazing to watch. I think he was 21 years old, just a kid, doing what he did, destroying. I think he had a 4 or 5 shot, lead, and that's what he won by. It was just an amazing display of dominance that we saw over the next, really 11 years until he won his last major in 2008. And I love it even more because I hate Tom Kite and he was second. Despise Tom Kite, so loved it.
The other question with that is, does Tiger make a comeback? It seems like his body's completely given up on him.
It's over. It's over. Just Tiger, coach the Ryder Cup every 2 years. Just stop. Stop embarrassing yourself. I mean, Joe DiMaggio retired when he realized he didn't have it anymore. A lot of other athletes retire when they realize, I got nothing. So, for Tiger to think that he still has a shot, you don't need the money. Don't do it. Don't embarrass yourself. Just go to the Champions Dinner. Have your whatever Danny Willett's going to order this year. It's probably going to be like surf and turf or something crazy because he's British and who knows. I don't even know if British eat surf and turf, but who knows. But Tiger's got to hang him up.
Does he hang it up or does he hold off for a few years and then go to the Champions Tour? I think that would be the what's the saying? The cheap way out. You know what I mean?
Here's the weird thing about the Champions Tour. The Champions Tour gets dominated by guys who are mediocre and during their time in the PGA Tour. So, one of the guys that I remember growing up who was lighting up the Champions Tour was Hale Irwin. But Hale Irwin, did he have a couple majors? Yes, he did. But he dominated the Champions Tour when he was on his game. So, usually guys like Tiger don't really dominate. Like, Phil's going to be 54 and still playing, the Players' Championship and some random FedEx Cup BMW Championship. He's still going to be in there. So, I don't think Tiger's I don't know if guys look at it like it's like, oh, consolation prize, you're old now, so play the PGA Tour. But after dominating for a few years, it's not even worth it to go there.
Right.
You've made your money. Stay home with the family.
I have to agree with that. It's going to be weird watching the Wednesday festivities without Arnold Palmer being around, too.
It's going to be a huge, huge, huge day without him. I mean, it's there's going to be a little hole left in there, and you still got Gary Player, who's beloved. You still got Jack, but Arnold's gone. He was the reason why the PGA Tour is so big. It wasn't Jack. It was Arnold's army.
I agree.
And you can, if we had more time, we could honestly make the argument that Arnold Palmer was more important to the game of golf than Jack Nicklaus. That argument can be made, despite the fact that Arnold didn't have as many championships or majors as Jack. Arnold was just a marketing gold for the term.
He was basically Arnold was the heartbeat of the PGA.
Exactly.
Jack Nicklaus, the benchmark with all the wins and the majors and everything.
Exactly. So Arnold's going to leave a huge hole in that place. I don't want to sound like I'm dancing on his grave, but I've been thinking about who's going to take his place. Who's going to be, usually it's three people who hit the tee shot. Well, precedent's been set. So now we're going to have Jack and Gary for a few years. But there's got to be who else is there in the pipeline that's going to, great golfers that's going to come up and take over that spot.
My opinion, honestly, who I would put there, a little bit younger than these guys, but probably Faldo.
Faldo has, 3 or 4 Masters?
I believe it's 3.
Faldo was a great Masters champion. Faldo deserves it. Faldo is one of the few British golfers that I like. I think I would have no issue with Faldo. If there's, I don't, maybe Ben Crenshaw. I think Crenshaw had 2 Masters, and Crenshaw is beloved by the crowd, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have that pure. You have to be pure, A guy like Tiger, great Masters champion, but his situation kind of dampened.
Yeah, and Tiger's in his 40s.
No, I'm saying down the road.
Down the road, it would be fine. Yeah, when he becomes, let time heal all wounds. Let him become
because when we're older,
mythical.
When we get a little older, it could be Tiger and Phil doing the opening.
Without a doubt,
drives.
I could see Tiger and Phil. But Faldo, I like. I like Ben Crenshaw. Ben Crenshaw is really. Ben Crenshaw was. I was watching taping or rerun of the drive, chip and putt.
Right.
And he was there with Condoleezza Rice, like congratulating these kids. And I think he's very active in Augusta National and in the Masters. And I think he would be an asset, really, to have there kicking off the tournament.
And I don't know if you watched the show on the Golf Channel, Faraday. Have you ever watched Faraday?
I've seen bits of... I'm not a religious watcher, but I have watched it.
If you want to watch a great Faraday, which was a 2-part episode, you watch the Phil Mickelson talking with Faraday.
So I saw the commercial for it, and I stopped it. I stopped the commercial, and I took a picture of Phil in his leather jacket, and I posted the photo on Instagram, and I wrote, "Thank God my grandfather died 4 years ago, so that he didn't have to subject himself to seeing Phil Mickelson in this leather freaking jacket." It looked terrible.
He was dressed like Kaniki from the Grease.
Metro Phil. I love it when Phil kind of looks like he's just your everyday schlub. But he's wearing a leather jacket. It's Metro Phil. I don't know if I like that.
Speaking of Phil, I'll give you my Masters moment.
What do you got?
Has to be hole 13, 2012 from the Pine Straw. He says in Faraday, he said it was somehow the stats were for him for that shot. I don't know how. It makes no sense to me, especially with that little creek right in front of the green.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful shot, and that's a shot that only him and probably Seve Ballesteros would ever take that.
It's you got to be a bulldog to take a shot.
And we will not be talking about the Seve.
No, we're not going to be.
No offense, that was pretty bad.
It was god awful. It was one of the worst things I've ever watched on Netflix. I'm ashamed to admit that I watched it more than you, because we watched it Friday night. We gave it an attempt. Terrible. I'm like, on Saturday morning when I woke up, I'm like, let me give this another shot. Watch 15 minutes more. Atrocious. They should have just did an hour and a half documentary on Seve. It wasn't. It was actually an offense to Seve what they did.
I would have to agree with that one. All right, do you have anything else from the golf front?
I just think a lot of things are happening great in golf. I think golf's becoming exciting every week with this young bucks coming up more and more. I watched a bit of the Anna tournament, the LPGA today, and I saw. I turned it off. I haven't checked up since, but I saw a amateur golfer knock in a hole-in-one and actually take the lead in the first round of a major, which I thought is amazing. May it be women,
is.
May it be men's. I always like to see an amateur just sort of be in contention. Like, what was his name? Brian DeChambeau, pronouncing his name wrong last year, but I was attracted to that. I think I love watching amateurs actually come through. It gives you a little. And the first person you think of when you see like an amateur doing something great is like, oh, Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones. And I usually go back to watching a documentary on Bobby Jones after I see it. It's always nice to see an amateur do that. So I was excited about that today.
Well, we live minutes from the course there at Inwood.
Minutes from the course. Walter Hagen won the PGA Championship there, and I think it was 23. Bobby Jones won the Open there, and I think it was either 27 or 30. I can't recall. But and the great thing about both of their wins was the course is half parkland, half links, which is tricky, man. That's a big point to it. That's tricky.
And you get that breeze off the bay.
It's rough, and you're getting it at different aspects of the bay too, because since you got it sort of on three sides,
it's basically like a peninsula type golf course.
Yeah, so you're dealing with a lot there. And what Walter Hagen did was amazing to me, because that was match play.
Yes.
That was the PGA correct. Until 57 or 58, which I do think, which I'll probably blog about soon, which I think the PGA need to go back to, since I watched the Dell Match Play Championship, which I love Wednesday to Sunday. I think there needs to be one major that is strictly match play. And I think the PGA needs to go back to it. It makes for exciting golf. It adds a competitive edge to it. And I think, in terms of match play, the best match play guy out there, even though he hasn't been lucky of late, is Patrick Reed, the Bulldog. And I think he wins that every year once he gets his game going together. When he shushes the crowd.
I feel like I was at a football game with that Ryder, when watching that Ryder Cup with the fans going nuts and him just getting in the face of Rory going, yeah, bring it on, it's time to play.
And Rory needs somebody to do that to him. Rory needs a little, I like Rory, but he needs to be brought down a few notches a little bit.
All right, we're going to move on to the next topic. It'll be the, what do you think?
Mets pitching.
Go with the Mets?
Yep, sure.
Talk a little Mets, Long Island boys, love the Mets.
Love the Mets.
The pitching staff for the last few years has been pretty dominant, but the biggest problem is the injuries. You have Zach Wheeler that went out with the Tommy John. Mm-hmm. Harvey got hurt, hasn't really come back to 100%. Mm-hmm. I still think he has plenty to give to the Mets. Yeah. Unlike a lot of people who think that we should use him as trade bait to bring in a bat. I don't agree.
No.
You gotta let this guy. You gotta let these guys pitch.
Yeah, Harvey went, I think, 4-10 last year. He had a rough year. He's still coming off the surgery. Surgery takes time to bounce back from. Do I think he'll ever get 20 wins? Possibly. Unlikely. I think he'll be an above-average pitcher. Do I think you should trade him for a bat? At this time, no. I think his contract's up I think it's next year.
I think it's next year.
It's up. So get what you can get out of him. If he's playing above average next year, and he's playing great, but the Mets aren't in contention by the trade deadline, then just trade him. But trade him for prospects. I'm not a bat guy.
And you know what it is. Even if he's your third or fourth starter, he's just as good as any number 3 or 4 in the major leagues.
Exactly.
He might not have the credentials to be a number 1 ace.
Yeah.
Which I think is Syndergaard. People go Syndergaard and DeGrom. I think it's Syndergaard. He's got that fiery attitude. You know what I mean?
He's a Patrick Reed without being as obnoxious.
Correct.
He's a competitor. You want competitors. And it's not saying that DeGrom is a competitor. It's not saying Matz, Wheeler, Gazelman, or Harvey aren't competitors. Harvey's probably the second most competitive out of that crew in terms of Syndergaard. But, this guy just wants to win. And he made a statement today. I want to pitch like I'm going to win the Cy Young. And if I don't win it, so be it. And you got to respect that. The kid wants to win.
I definitely will miss Gordo Bartolo Colon.
Love him.
I don't know what it was about the
Big
guy.
Sexy.
And the guy's a workhorse. Don't get me wrong. He's not in the best shape, but he's a workhorse. He's having the best years of his career.
He's without a doubt a workhorse. He was beloved by the fans. I understand why he wasn't re-signed. It's a money issue.
And he's 40 years old.
How much more?
I said it up. I was talking to one of my friends the other day about it. It's like a Tom Brady situation. His contract comes up, and Tom Brady's getting there to that point where it's like, is it time to hang it up or not? Yeah, they have to take a chance with Tom Brady. He's won Super Bowls. Cologne hasn't won us one World Series and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And he could slow down like that in a day, and that'll be it. But
I'm thinking, did Cologne pitch in a World Series ever? I mean, he pitched, I think, 2 years ago in the World Series. But was he ever a starter in a World Series?
That I do not know.
I don't remember if did he come up with the Indians in '97?
He was an Indian. I'm not sure if he was pitching at that point.
I think he might have.
That is a good question.
But it's you got to give the young kids a chance. I'm always for the young kids. And Lugo, you got Gazelman. Those guys should have opportunity.
Gazelman came out of nowhere.
Gazelman's stepping up. The fourth. He's your fourth pitcher. Wheeler, of course, being fifth now. He was announced. I saw today as a starter. As a fifth starter. With Matz out. And to be honest, I am fine with Gazelman being your fourth starter. And if they ever feel the need to... Matz is a good pitcher. Long Island boy, great kid. Injured a lot. Yes. Wheeler, injured a lot. So I would have no problem with the two of them sort of going back and forth with starts. Sort of leaving the fifth spot open to, Matz, one start, and then the next start, Wheeler, and going back and forth, maybe having them walk. Just so these guys could build up arm strength for the first few months. And then by June, figure out, who's going to be the fifth starter for the rest of the year. Let's start doing that when the Matz is off the
And
Off the DL.
just for the record, Bartolo's first World Series start was at age 42. He was a rookie of the year of the 97 Indians. Did not start a game, though.
Really?
In the World Series.
He was rookie of the year 97? What did you say?
No, he was a rookie of the year.
Oh, he was your rookie of the year.
Year of 97. That was his rookie season.
I'm like, I don't think he was rookie of the year.
No,
97.
no.
Like, I don't know.
That was his rookie season.
Yeah, that was a good Indians team.
And I think he weighed about $190 at that point.
He was skinny.
Kind of tipping the scale, probably around 280, 290 right now, if I had to guess.
When the fattest guy, I think the fattest guy on that team was Albert Bell. Probably Albert Bell.
Was Tomei part of those teams? Tomei wasn't fat, but he might have been the heaviest.
Tomei might have been playing third at the time. Back then, he might have been playing third.
And Sandy Alamo was no little guy either.
No, he was a big boy. Who else? Manny was on that team.
Yes,
that might have been Manny's
that
first
was some
season.
team. Manny, Kenny Lofton.
That was a great team who got... I mean, they should have won that World Series in 97. That was just a bad break. And Marlins, weird luck. Marlins fans, you don't deserve any World Series. Random luck.
But what's amazing with the Marlins is when they win World Series...
Dismantled.
Next year, they just break the team down and start over. We got enough money from these guys.
Dismantled. And why would you want to be the fan of a team like that? You know, it's Florida. That's Florida baseball fans. South Florida baseball fans are the same as Los Angeles area football fans.
And Giancarlo, cut the shit. Stop calling yourself Giancarlo Stanton. Your name's Mike.
It's Mike Stanton.
For Christmas' sake.
Although, let me say this: one of my least favorite players of all time was Mike Stanton.
Mike Stanton, definitely.
I mean, how many... He was decent for the Yankees, right, as a setup man. How many, hanging curveballs did he leave over the plate in his short time in the Mets bullpen?
Oh, horrendous.
Angered me. You could call it. You're like, oh, ready? Watch this. Mike Stanton, hanging curveball. Hold on.
Almost as great as J.J. Putz being a Mets reliever.
That was such a bad time period. That was what was that? 11? Was it 2011? That was such a bad
on paper though. That sounded so great. J.J. Putz and I believe K-Rod was the closer at that point.
Was that the season K-Rod tried beating the crap out of his father-in-law?
He tried. I think he actually.
It's so distant though. I mean, you forget sometimes that K-Rod was the closer, and I never forget that Billy Wagner. I'll never forget that because that's just that's 06, 07. 08, I remember those teams. But there's a gap, and I was probably at my peak in terms of being a Mets fan back then. But man, you forget J.J. Putz, and you forget even K-Rod. It's that bullpen has gone through. I remember Dwayne Sanchez more than I remember J.J. Putz.
That's right, Dwayne Sanchez.
When he got into that car accident. Traded Xavier Navy.
Basically ruined his career.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We had Benitez back then.
Yeah, Armando. Now, do you remember him as an Oriole? I remember him as an Oriole when the Yankees were in their heyday in the late 90s. And
was that the fight with him and Darryl Strawberry that time?
Was that 98?
They hit. I believe he threw at Tino Martinez. I think it was.
I think it was 98, maybe.
And the Straw Man didn't take too kindly to it. Let's just put it that way.
He was hyped up from his cancer medication, I think. He was all ready to go or something. I'm trying to remember. Benitez on the Orioles was interesting. Even more interesting was when he was on the Mets. Because he would give you how many saves and still blow the big ones. How can you be automatic in simple saves?
We definitely had a lot of characters as Mets relievers. We had Turk Wendell.
Sharktooth?
Guillermo Mota, another public enemy.
Mr. PED? What was he spending for PEDs? 10 times? I swear to God. He was just an injected machine.
Mejia also.
Mejia and
had such a bright future with the Mets. I'm telling
you. I feel like if you ever want to hear stories about one Mets season, let's say the 12 or the 13 season, the two guys you want to talk to the most are Mejia and Jordani Valdespin. I bet you they have they're snitches. They're wild men and they're snitches. They'll tell you any dirty thing about David Wright. Those are the guys you want to talk to, but at the end of the day, they're still snitches and they're just petty bastards.
Just the subject of David Wright alone could be a podcast in its own. I think he's,
about what?
I think he's basically, and this is my opinion, I think he's basically stealing money from the Mets.
Oh my God, is he
Do
stealing?
the right thing. We know you're the captain. Take your job in the office. They're gonna give him a job somewhere at the Mets. Retire, so then we can use that money towards something else. It's almost as bad as the fact that this year Bobby Bonilla got paid again.
This is like what, the 15th year?
Bobby Bonilla has a pension. I've never seen a baseball player.
He does have a pension,
which is
$1 billion a year until like what, 2032?
Something like that.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous.
Usually players try to top end their contracts. He said, "No. I'll wait till I'm out of the league already and take it from there."
Bobby Bonilla is he's a cop who's like, he was like 15 years ago. He was coming up on his 20th year on the job, and he's like, "All right, I got to work some extra OT."
Oh, definitely.
I got to work some extra OT. Maybe I'll actually play 100 games this year, and I'll milk most of it out of them.
And might add, he might have been the worst pickup the Mets have ever had. Him,
which Bobby Bonilla?
Possibly Greg Jeffries. Like I said,
you can go Vince Coleman.
The New York Mets itself.
Jason Bay.
Thinking about it now, basically the New York Mets itself in the past and all their bad moves could be a podcast of its own.
It's and you know what it is? You could honestly do a 2-hour podcast on each decade of bad selections. It's really upsetting.
And let's talk about this decade right now, since we were talking about pitchers before. Familia, 15-game suspension. That's it. I thought he was going to get at least 30, to be honest with you.
So I'm at home last night. I was watching the news. It was like Channel 4 or something. And my stepmother goes, "He should have gotten more." And I said, "I disagree." And she goes, "Why?" I said, "Listen, the charges were dropped. Whether he did or he didn't do it is sort of at a moot point, because let's face it, once charges are dropped, you're found innocent. There's been no wrongdoing in the eyes of the law. So 15 games is just a compromise, which he should have fought it, in my opinion."
And basically, I think that 15 games is just because it brought negative publicity to the MLB.
That's it.
That's it.
Which is complete BS. It just shows you that the public relations department of Major League Baseball is actually running the league, in my opinion.
So you have allegations that end up being him actually being not guilty about it.
Yeah.
In baseball, he gets 15 games. Then you have, guys like Ray Rice who decide to do his best Apollo Creed impersonation to his wife / whatever the heck it is, fiance. Yeah. And he's basically blackballed just like Kaepernick is now.
Yeah. And it's just it doesn't make sense, the whole. And honestly, let's face it, if he was white, he wouldn't get anything, I believe. If he's a white guy, he's like, "No, we're good." Like Wally Backman. Whatever happened to Wally Backman he lost his job. Okay.
Poor Wally.
But he never got arrested. I think like the MLB does have standards. But I mean, 15 games is ridiculous. The man has basically been found innocent. You're trying to cover your own ass. It's complete BS.
And 15 games, and I know it's a long season, 162 games.
Crucial.
15
Every
games
game counts,
crucial, especially as a closer.
Every game counts, and especially when you have, let's face it, Addison.
Even though maybe those 15 games you could think about being a closer in the playoffs this year. Because World Series was terrible.
Well, that's because in 2015 he did his best Mike Stanton impersonation.
His relief in the World Series was almost as bad as Mariano Rivera against the Boston Red Sox in 2004.
I'm actually shocked how much I don't relive the 2015 World Series. Like, I relived 2006 NLCS more than I relived 2015 World Series. Maybe it's because I'm older, I'm wiser, hopefully. I'm just like, 2006 was the better team without a doubt, so I had to relive that more.
I'm in a Mets fan group
on
Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, since the whole baseball classic, they've been talking, would you trade Matt Harvey for Yadier Molina? I purposely wouldn't get Molina, even though he's a great catcher, just because of the 2006 playoffs.
I have to agree with you.
That's like bringing in Adam Wainwright. Why don't we bring in
exactly.
Also?
But I've also thought to myself, and I do this a lot, where I try to make parallels between like mid-'80s Mets to now. And I think to myself, all we need is a veteran, solid catcher. a solid starting, not Rene Rivera, a solid starting veteran catcher.
No Plawecki?
No. Even though he seems like a nice guy, his I think girlfriend or wife is
Where
attractive.
are you now, Charlie O'Brien?
Exactly.
Vance Wilson.
I'm Todd Pratt. I'm the only guy. Who's the only guy out there? It's Yadier, but he's in talks for an extension now.
You know who like disappeared off the face of the earth was Ramon Castro.
Ramon was the king of like the 0-1 freaking fastball low and down the middle of the plate homer.
I didn't mind him. He was a solid player. You know, wasn't a great catcher, but he was. He got us through the games.
The past few years, the Mets have been like the kings of the Latin backup catchers.
This is true.
Ramon Castro. I forgot who was before him. I can't remember the guy's name.
We also had a catcher named Alberto. No, not Alberto. Is it Alberto?
Alberto Castillo.
Alberto Castillo.
Yeah, remember him. Now we have Rene Rivera. We had Centeno, Juan Centeno, right? I think he's still in AAA. So it's these guys are so big. They're so overweight. But they don't they'll hit for power randomly and not when you need it.
Basically, if it was softball, they'd be perfect.
They're perfect.
That base hit, you call for a courtesy runner, and
that's
you're working it out.
I need one. Blow.
I need a courtesy runner.
Courtesy. That's
bad hamstring. Bad hamstring.
If they ever introduce, which they won't, courtesy runners into baseball, I would be so entertained at this point.
Oh, there was a rule I was listening to that they were talking about doing for because all of a sudden now we have to speed up baseball games. Oh, they're too long, this and that. You want to see a long game? Watch a college football game. That's a long game. 4 or 5 hours worth of... Meanwhile, an NFL game is 3.5 hours compared to a college football game because the clock always stops. Yeah. They said the rule is when they go into... They were trying this in the... I'm not sure what section of the minor leagues, but I'm talking about low in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
After the 9th inning, when it goes into extra innings, starting at the inning
the
with
runner
somebody
on second.
I think that's horrible.
That's one of the most preposterous ideas I've ever heard. This whole bunch of malarkey that games are too long. Well, listen, games are too long because you have so many advertisers. You got to get the commercial time. I read a book about Joe Joe DiMaggio, and games started at 3:00 in the afternoon. They didn't have lights in Yankee Stadium yet, and he would games would only be about 2.5 hours because you're in and out. That's it. Get the game going. So that's why, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but that's why you should. Have you seen the split screen?
Yes.
I love the split screen. Have the commercials on when the game is still going. Mm-hmm. Do that. I'll watch both. I can see both. Don't go to a commercial break ever at this point. If you can do that, do it.
But that's what I love about soccer. Soccer, it's 45 minutes a half.
Mm-hmm.
During that 45 minutes of the game, there's no commercial. They do 10 minutes of commercials before the game, about maybe 8 to 10 minutes in the middle, and 8 to 10 minutes at the end. That's it.
It's an archaic way of advertising, and it needs to go.
It's just like football.
Yeah.
Football, guys score a touchdown, extra point, they go to commercial. Come back, kick off. After the kickoff's done, they go to a commercial before they bring out the offense again.
That's it.
It's a waste of time.
I mean, it's there's definitely ways around it. Just go guys on the field, guys off the field. Do what you got to do. Play the game, and I bet you it at least cuts it down by a half hour.
And like you said, do the split screen. I think that'll be perfect.
The split screen will do it.
You keep the game going. Everybody's still into it.
All you got to do is shut down.
You get your sponsors out.
Exactly.
You just shut down the broadcasters, basically.
Shut down the broadcasters. Let them piss in a Folgers cup, whatever they're doing. Right. Get the urine out, and just have the. I'm going to listen to the game. I'm going to listen either way. I'm watching the game. I'm listening. I can multitask. I can chew gum and walk. So just do that. Get rid of just the solely commercials, and have the games finished by 9:15. Because I like to have my tea and then go to bed.
All right. You have anything else with the MLB? I think we've hit a lot with the Mets just now.
Mets. I'll quickly say this. I have 3 different opinions on the Mets. One, what I hope they'll do, what I expect them to do, and what I fear they'll do. What I hope they'll do, I hope they win 100 games, make it to the World Series, no problem, and destroy whatever American League team there is. I hope they do. I expect them to make the playoffs.
Wild card?
No, I expect them to win the division.
They take the division?
Yeah, Nationals can't even hold a candle to them, I believe. Without that. My fear is 07. We've had 2 good years. I fear Mets fan in my mind, and this is not only being a Mets fan, it's a Jets fan. It is an Islanders fan. I am thinking, oh no, we've had 2 good years in a row. 2 playoff teams. The floor is going to drop beneath us, and we're just going to be crushed. Heartbreak in September.
I'm fearing that, and I'm fearing our pitching staff just falling apart, to be honest with you. Noah Syndergaard came into the season averaging 98 miles per hour on his fastball.
Yeah.
Comes out and admits, I want to throw harder this year. I don't want to hear that from my ace. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Work on your location. Do something different. Don't try to throw harder.
Yeah.
He bulked up. I think he either put on 15 pounds or he took off
15 pounds of muscle.
Put on 15 pounds.
Yeah.
First of all, that takes away from the span of your throw. I don't know.
He bulked up in the wrong area. He should have bulked up in the legs. Nolan Ryan pitched all those years and pitched fast because he had strong legs. And he was like, I'm bulked up in my chest and my shoulder. That's a horrible idea. Terrible. I'm not the smartest man in terms of the body, but that's a terrible idea.
And I have a feeling the dark horse this year, if he stays healthy, which I think he will, because he's remade, be Zach Wheeler. I think Wheeler's gonna have a good season. I think he'll be solid. I think he's gonna start off a little rough. He might start off maybe 2-4, something like that. But I think once he gets into the mix, I think he's gonna have solid. See, that's good stuff.
Out of this bunch, out of the 6 that we're talking about, Matz is on the deal, but we're including him here. Who ends up having the best statistics? So I'll say wins and losses, strikeouts, and wins, losses, ERA, and strikeouts to walks ratio.
1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna go. This is a close 1 and 2. This is honestly, I'm gonna go.
I know.
I'm gonna say tied for first.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards DeGrom having a better season than.
I'm talking overall career.
Oh, career.
Career.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
That's a curveball I just threw you.
Depending on how his look at his career is,
yeah,
I'd say Syndergaard still has the best career. But if he keeps trying to bulk up and trying to throw faster and hard, it's going to ruin him.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the guy whose body type and his mechanics and mentality is sustainable. At the end of their career, we'll be talking about DeGrom.
DeGrom?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just think that. And I think Syndergaard's number 2. And if I'm going to be bold. This is a hot take. Bold. Although he's going to have a sophomore slump this year, I think 3. Gesellman. I think he's got that DeGrom type. I think he's going to actually have a better career than Harvey, better career than Wheeler, better career than Matz. I think Wheeler's going to have a better career than Matz.
I think Matz is going to get hurt. I think really. I don't think he's built. I don't know what his build is. But last year I was calling Gesellman. I was calling him. That was DeGrom stunt double basically. Yeah. There was sometimes no joke bar. I turned the TV on right away. Look, I'm like, oh, what's DeGrom? Oh no, it's not DeGrom.
And it's not. It doesn't stop at the hair. It's like everything else.
Lanky body,
Incredible. And I think Lugo might end up having a better career than Matz and Wheeler.
I would agree with that.
I don't know about Harvey. So Harvey had some good times.
I think Matt Harvey will have an average career.
Do you feel in this day and age that it's harder to judge pitchers by the win-loss?
Of course.
It is tremendously difficult to judge them by win-loss over the past 15 years.
You also have to realize some of the most dominant pitchers are on teams that can't hit worth a shit.
You know, look at Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver only gave up 1 run and would lose games.
There you go.
It's win-loss, but I still think like years ago it was easy to know who the good pitchers were. You know, Bob Gibson was a great pitcher based on his win-loss. You look at his career, even like Burt Blyleven, Jim Palmer, even though they had great teams. It was just easier if you're looking years back at statistics. But now, as you're going through the years, you're like, all right, Syndergaard is one of the most dominant pitchers in the game. But like this win-loss is it was easier.
Look how many wins the offense left on the field. That's the problem.
So many.
Even Matt Harvey when he was having his big season,
Yeah.
They were looking at records. Oh, he's going to beat this record and that. And he didn't because the bats stopped working. They weren't playing small ball. They were trying to hit home runs in a stadium where you have to play small ball.
And also,
even with the fences in, you still have to play small ball because you have that wind.
Yeah,
the wind is horrible.
The wind from, yeah. But I think also defense let him down a lot, too.
I agree with that. And that was the number one reason to me why they lost the World Series. Don't get me wrong. Kansas City was a great team. But you have Murphy. Murphy just pretty much shit the bed. Shit the bed.
Boots it. I think I knew, and this was being a typical Met fan, I don't know if you felt it, but this is me in my own head. I knew once, I think it was the first batter. Was it Escobar?
Pablo Escobar? No.
What was his name? I forgot the guy's name. The shortstop for, I think he was a leadoff hitter for game 1. And I realized when Cespedes was in center field, and he was running away from the ball, but had his glove backhanded against his left leg, and he tried catching that way, and he completely missed. I felt in my mind, I said, "Oh, we lost." Just from that one batter, I gave up hope already. I'm like, "Oh, it's over," and I was completely right. But yeah, that was a terrible defensive play, and it snowballed. It was, as Keanu Reeves says in The Replacement, quicksand, and that's what happened.
One thing goes wrong.
Another
thing goes wrong.
It's just a snowball effect.
You have anything else with the Mets?
No, I'm thinking I'm good for it.
We just did a good 15-20 minutes just on the
Mets.
On the Mets' fortunes and more so misfortunes.
Jesus Christ.
You ran out of beer. Look at you.
I know, it's over.
Let's see. We'll go quick U.S. soccer since, I'm a soccer fan. USA played 2 games this past week. And they played Panama most recently in a qualifier and tied 1-1 where they should have. They need these points. They're in second to last basically in their group.
What is this qualifier for?
For the World Cup.
In 2018?
Correct.
And they're second to last?
They're second. They need a lot of wins.
Who's in goal? Is Howard in goal?
Timmy Howard's in goal, but the offense is not clicking. Bruce Arena just came back.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we got Bruce Arena back. So we're going back to '94, and we're gonna. And it's amazing,
Bruce is one of those guys that he just looks weird.
I think he might be weird.
He probably is.
But the positives I took out of this week was Dempsey's back. Dempsey scored 3 goals against Honduras the first game in that 6-0 win.
Yeah.
Which was the U.S. being the U.S., which they need to be. They're not in the strongest of divisions.
Of groups? Who's in the group?
You got Jamaica, Trinidad, Panama, Honduras.
So every other country in the group has the population equivalent to a 16th of our population, but we can't beat any of them in soccer?
Right. It's a big deal. Like I said, having Dempsey back, it helps.
Yeah.
He had the heart condition recently. And even the European influence is great too. You got the guys like Christian Pulisic, who's been playing in Germany. John Brooks has been playing in Germany. All these guys are playing with premier players.
Top talent, yeah.
I don't want to knock down on MLS because MLS is still a work in progress, basically. But
on the world scale of professional leagues, what would you consider MLS compared to like minor league standings, like minor league divisions?
I'd say
AAA, AA, high single A, middle single A, low single A.
No, I'd probably go AA.
AA.
They have talent.
Okay.
They don't play like the world class leagues.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll watch it. I enjoy it. I'm a soccer fan. I watch every single soccer.
What do you think is the best way to improve it? Or what do they have to do? What does Americans have to do to improve their status in soccer?
I think they got to get more European players, and I'm not talking about 36, 37-year-olds that just want to cash out before they retire.
Yeah,
they got to try to get the younger guys to come in. B, they have to change their style. Mm-hmm. It looks like they're playing college soccer out there. The goalie kicks the ball 3/4 of the way down the field into the middle of nowhere, and they try to get to it. Where in European soccer, the goalie will kick it right to the defender, and they slowly bring it up, setting up all the plays. And everything
it's sort of a hockey aspect what they take in terms of trying to get it into the offensive zone.
Correct. Exactly.
But so you said bringing in younger top talent from Europe.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with U.S. soccer is the college situation. A lot of these European teams, their guys do schooling, but they're in the teams have like youth development.
Okay.
So they're playing soccer every day, but they're don't even get their education.
Yeah.
But it's not like college, where college you play for the college for that certain amount of time, and then it's a lot. It's very different.
It's very Europe soccer sounds like the system that Canada has in terms of junior hockey and things like that. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm sure you've seen it, Youngblood, with where Patrick Swayze and Rob Lowe are on a junior hockey team, right? And they have they got the schooling and tea time with Miss McGill and things like that. But that's what sounds like Europe's doing in terms of growing these players' abilities, expanding upon them, and the U.S. just doesn't do that,
right?
And they won't be able to compete at that higher level until they do, right?
I agree.
You spoke about the bringing in talent from Europe in their prime, I would guess, right? But could U.S. soccer teams, MLS soccer teams, compete with European professional soccer teams in terms of salary?
That's a tough one, and like I said, the play has to increase. You know what I mean? It's got to be more advanced. It's very simple for the most part. There's some teams that'll step up, and their play will be good, but the play has to increase. Like I said, you're not going to take a team like a Barcelona in Spain and bring them to the United States and have them go against one MLS team. It's not going to. They're going to blow them out.
They could do like an MLS All-Star team, but still probably blow them out.
There's millions and millions and more dollars in it. I think Pro-Rel, which I don't know if you know that, promotion and relegation, they have that all over Europe. If your team's not doing great in the league and you finish in the bottom two, you go down to the lower level.
I think they
and
should
the two teams from the lower level come up to the top. They refuse to do that right now, MLS.
With NASL?
With anybody. They will not do that right now. Because, it's going to lose money for the teams. The problem is also...
They got to get off their high horse.
You have to realize that MLS owns 51% of every team in the league.
Really?
Yes. Hence why the Cosmos didn't want to go. The Cosmos had offers to go to MLS a long time ago, but they'd have to give up all their trademark stuff. They'd have to give up 51% of the team. And
they had no interest in the profit sharing.
And there's not a team in America that's more known than the New York Cosmos. Not even close.
Really? Their business plan is greedy, and it's stymieing the growth of the sport.
And like baseball, your team finishes in last. You're going to be in last for a while. You got the drafts have to come, and you have to go to draft players. And in soccer, the last place team, if they finish in last like 2 or 3 times, and they'll say no, it doesn't happen this way, but they give them money, and then they can bring in better players.
Is there an MLS draft? As you can see, I'm sort of a neophyte.
Yes.
There is. Is it a lottery system or no?
To tell you the truth, I have no idea. That's how horrible the draft is. That's my opinion.
That's just...
I love European soccer.
This is why...
I watch MLS soccer because it's local stuff. I watch an ASL soccer.
Yeah.
But...
You're one of the guys, soccer lovers that I know, and I would say 95% of the soccer guys I know prefer European soccer.
Oh, yeah.
And over MLS. And there are so many guys that I know that prefer NASL over MLS.
This is true.
And if MLS is going to keep acting like the way it is in terms of their business policies, then they're not helping the sport. It's very short term. It's not long term at all.
They're helping the business, but they're not helping the sport.
Exactly.
And by not helping the sport, it's going to hurt the national team.
There you go.
That's why US has problems. England has problems because the English Premier League, which is one of the greatest leagues, one of the most competitive leagues, their big players are not from England. A lot of their big players come from the outside and come in.
There you go.
Their top 4 teams, none of the coaches are English.
That's ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
That is ridiculous. And it's like Ireland. You expect Ireland to be good. I expect it as a soccer guy, but they're not good at all.
Their league is not that great. That's the problem. Their league in Ireland is not great at all.
Well, they have nobody population wise, so they really shouldn't. Even though it's their sport, they shouldn't expect to have.
I think them, Scotland, maybe like 1 or 2 other countries that have small leagues should all combine and just have like 2 or 3 divisions,
and that's it. Makes much more sense then.
Right. And that's pretty much all I have on soccer right now, you know. But I just wanted to get that point across. The USA is in a lot of trouble if they don't win the next few games. They might not qualify for the World Cup, which would be a shame because the last few years they've been getting better and better at the World Cup, but it's not looking good right now.
Yeah.
I think we should go to our last subject.
Love it.
Well, actually, I'm going to shoot one at you right now.
Sure.
Before we go on to the last subject.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're talking about all kinds of subjects. What's your favorite beer?
My favorite beer. My go-to beer in bars, there's 2 beers. It's Budweiser Miller Lite. I go either or. Favorite beer is Miller High Life. I've loved it for 10 years now. My favorite to get it in is a little 8-ounce nips. The grenades. Love them. That's my go-to. I do enjoy a wide variety of beers. Nothing too crazy with like IPAs and things like that. I don't get too fancy. I'm a small town guy. I don't get crazy, but I do love Miller High Life. How about you?
I like Kronbacher, all kinds.
Yeah.
Dark, Pilsner, it doesn't matter. And I'd say my number 1 has to be Guinness, though. I love Guinness.
You love Guinness, I know that.
I love Guinness.
What is your personal...
The only problem with Guinness, not to cut you off, the
Sure,
only problem with Guinness, it's definitely not a summer beer. To me, it's not a summer beer.
You can't have that in your stomach.
You drink a Guinness, you're sweating.
You can't have that in your stomach. And you have that... If you want to drink that in the summer, it's 9 o'clock at night with the central air on.
Maybe 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then you go back to whatever you were drinking.
That's it. What is your personal opinion on the Guinness Blondes?
I think it's horrible, to be honest with you.
Really?
I do not like it at all.
Really? Now, have you ever drank Guinness from Ireland?
No.
Because I've been told the Guinness is different.
It's not cold.
Yeah.
Tastes better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not cold. And if they hear your accent,
yeah.
This is from what my wife said. If they hear your accent, they'll put ice cubes in your beer.
Stop! Really?
Yes, the ice cube your beer just to help you out because they know it's not cold and
that's ridiculous. I hope not. I'll have a brogue when I go there, just to prove them wrong. Have you ever had Magners? I was a big cider guy about 10 years ago.
I've had cider. I'm not a huge fan of it.
I was turned on originally by Salty Steve to Woodchuck.
I'm a Woodchuck.
Woodchuck was good, and then I merged over to.
But I only like the red apple. I don't like any of the other.
That's it. Woodchuck. I then subsequently sort of jumped on the Magners train, and Magners I thought was great, but then I was told it's Balmer's in Ireland, and it's much better. So I'm interested in like the beers Irish beers tasting different in Ireland than in the States here.
I've been tapping into the whiskey lately too. I don't know.
Really?
A lot of whiskey.
Really?
Yeah, I was a captain drinker, and then
that
captain
ship
got a little sail. Basically, the captain
sailed.
He got on the ship, and the ship fucking left.
Only Sailor Jerry was left.
Right. And now I'm drinking Jim Beam and stuff like that.
I saw you got a bottle of Jack up there.
Yes.
Have you tried the Sinatra edition?
No, I heard it's pretty smooth.
I saw it on Joe Rogan's podcast. They were drinking it, and they thought it wasn't like a difference. It was just great. It was him and Ron White. Like, there's no difference. It's still Jack. And I'm like, both of their taste buds have to be the.
Ron White's a big tequila guy. He has his own brand. It's one of the top. It's one of the top tequilas around.
Yeah.
Him and Hagar.
Sammy's just.
So after you listen to Dreams from Van Halen, you can always chug down a nice Cabo Wabo.
Sammy's just. You just gotta laugh at Sammy. Like, I thought, this is the sorriest moment of my life when I thought about buying the Chicken Foot CD.
I have it.
And I'm like, I like Sammy.
I have the original.
I don't know if I could do it. How was it?
I have both.
How are both?
I like Chicken Foot a lot.
Who is it now total? It's him?
It's Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
Joe Satriani.
Carl Place.
Chad Smith from, was it Chad Smith?
Chad Smith from
Red Hot Chili Peppers. And
was it Michael Anthony?
Michael Anthony's the bass player.
If Michael Anthony is not doing like the jump dance, the jump hurdle that he did, the jump broad jump that he was doing.
And he's the one that has the pipes. If you ever hear the backups to most of those songs and you hear the high pitch pipe,
it's him.
It's him. He's doing it.
It's him. He looks like a guy that like would own his own deli, like in Belmore.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And still have the long hair. For no reason.
Yeah, this is Michael Anthony's deli.
Yeah, exactly. It's like try the Eddie Van Halen. You're going to love the pastrami.
Try the pastrami eruption, Just throw it out there. All right, the final question, since we're at an hour and about 15 minutes now. Favorite 70s band?
Favorite 70s band? All right. I'd have to go. I listen to a lot of Bruce. I love Bruce, but I'm not going to put that in the band category. It's tough. It's between Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. Love them. Great Jersey Shore bar band. Love me some bar bands. Give me a horn section. I'm in. But I'd have to say Leonard Skinner. Leonard Skinner from 72 to most of the guys' death, or 3 of the members' death in 77. They were a hit machine, and they just good, rootin' tootin' southern songs, so I enjoy it. How about you?
I can't even name a handful of Skinner songs.
Oh,
I can name like 2 or 3.
What? I mean, Free Bird.
Obviously.
What's Your Name? Give Me 3 Steps. Tuesday's Gone. Simple Man.
Okay, there we go.
So,
okay.
they got
I'll give you that one.
What do you got?
This was a tough one for me. But I definitely went with, gotta go with Zeppelin.
Great band.
Especially, you talk to people that were alive back then when they were going to these concerts. And it was like, it wasn't even a concert. It was an experience.
It was a concert experience.
It was an experience. Just some of the songs and the variety of songs.
Yeah. I mean,
how many of their songs start off nice and slow and melodic, and all of a sudden, boom! Here comes the rock and roll, and Jimmy Page starts going nuts on that guitar. It's nuts.
It's amazing the fanaticism over Zepp that occurred in the 70s. That if you bring up Zepp to certain people, I mean, it's 2-hour conversation. And they had so many great songs. Some of the subject matter didn't really hit home to me, so that's why I probably...
Right.
Some of it was like mystical shit that I'm like, alright, sounds good.
I'd say more of the... I'm kind of in love with the band sound.
The music instead of the lyrics.
The lyrics are a little outdated.
Yeah.
But the other funny part is, if you think about it, I was thinking about this the other day. Guns N' Roses, November Rain, is set up like a Zeppelin song.
Tremendously.
It's nice and slow, and it's all ha-ha, and all of a sudden, there's a guitar solo in the middle of the church with a cigarette in his mouth.
I mean, that is...
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's... And Zeppelin was copied a lot. My favorite Zeppelin copied song is probably Lonely as the Night by Billy Squier. Billy Squier is one of my favorites.
To be honest with you, for years, I thought that was Zeppelin.
I thought it was Zeppelin until maybe I was a senior in high school. My uncle told me. He broke it down. He goes, it's not Zeppelin, right? I go, what? He goes, that's the hold me in your arms, take me tonight. I'm like, it's Billy Squier. He goes, yeah. I was like, wow. And as it turns out, Billy Squier is one of my favorite 80s musicians. So I was like, it's a great tune. It's a great
Stroke,
tune.
Man. It's got to be the Stroke.
Yeah. My Kind of Lover, or Lava, as he would say it.
And like I was saying with the Mets before, you throw music in a music time period, and we could do an hour on that alone, easily.
We could do and now we both did not go to Islander games during the 1980s, but you could just imagine the playlist the Islanders had in the early 80s during their Stanley Cup era. Yeah. And you're honestly, if I was there, I could just imagine Eddie Money twice a period. You just think it's got to be Eddie Money, probably Billy Squier, maybe a Huey Lewis and a new song, and every other song being Squeeze. It's just that. Oh! It's the third period and we're up 4-1. All right, we'll play some Dave Edmonds.
I can see some Billy Joel pressure up in that.
I mean, that's still to this day. Well, the old barn's gone now. It's been refurbished. But yeah, Billy Joel pressure was the past 7 years it was big. That's a big Big song.
I remember I tell you, this had to be about the early 2000s. I had stepped away from the Islanders for a while. I don't know. Not that I wasn't a fan. I was.
You went on a sabbatical.
No, I hadn't been there. I didn't go to a game.
Okay.
I go there and they come out. And they came out to Unchained by Van Halen.
Yeah.
And you
up,
feel the goosebumps, man. and you're getting pumped up. You're ready to go.
You got pumped up.
They lost that game 3-0 at that point, but it's all right.
The worst decision the Islanders ever made, and for 4 straight seasons, I guess.
Playing hockey at a basketball arena?
Well, that's a big one.
Keep going.
But when they were at the old barn, they had Fall Out Boy, that I'm on fire, that song. But it did get the crowd pumped. It was one of those songs that get pumped. And then for the last season, they switched to Coldplay. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm a player, this isn't getting me hyped up. I'm a fan, this definitely isn't getting me hyped up. I'm looking at other fans, it's not getting us hyped up. It was the Coliseum changed probably about 2012, where they started getting the more top 40, little hip hop stuff. And if they just stayed with 80s freaking rock songs, 80s and 70s rock songs, it would have just hyped up everybody. That's what Long Island is. Long Island's best era is from 70 to 88. That's vintage Long Island.
You go anywhere else in the NHL for a home game.
Yeah.
Anywhere else. They're playing 90s metal and 80s rock the whole time.
That's it.
You get some Bush friggin' Machine Head
just
to start the game off.
Yeah. And
my other question is, who drives that Honda Pilot that's in the middle of nowhere in the Barclays Center? That's some parking spot.
That's premium parking. I've never seen they have the sticker though. They don't have a sticker. They don't have the thing hanging on the windshield.
That might be the only seat in the house where you're guaranteed not to have impaired vision.
I would love to sit there for a game. Sell me that seat. I think they should auction off that seat. Auction off the driver's seat without the keys, of course, because we don't need any accidents. Just for a game and see how much money they'll make.
That's another big deal to me. To be honest with you.
What's that? The van?
You go to no, not even that. You go to an Islanders game.
Yeah.
I loved going to the barn.
Yeah.
Being there an hour and a half earlier, flipping some hot dogs, hamburgers.
Tailgating.
Tailgating. You can't tailgate at the Barclay.
No. Yeah, did I?
You gotta get drunk before you go there, or not get drunk. You have to drink before you go there. Hop on the train. It's like Madison Square Garden, and I don't like it.
Did I tell you I went to the last Islander home game? It was Game 6 versus the Cap. It was the Capitals, and I got the phone call at 9:50. I forget what the game was at 1. I was still laying in bed, hungover from the night before, and my cousin called. She's like, "Hey, I got an extra ticket. Do you want to come to the game?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there in 20 minutes." And I rushed there. Didn't even shower. Went there, played some cornhole, made some friends with people, pissed off some Capital fans. Of course, had some burgers and some dogs. Had a great time, and lost the game. Won the game because it went to Game 7 in Washington. But it was I was going to 30 home games a year when they were at the old barn, and that was the last hurrah. It really took a toll on me, that place leaving, because it was an important place in my 20s.
It was an important place for Long Island.
It was a huge place.
Name one pro team on Long Island now, and I'm not talking about the full Long Island, because people go Queens and Brooklyn.
No,
Queens and Brooklyn is not Long Island.
Nassau South.
In the counties, I'm saying.
Yeah, and we ended up staying there for about 4 hours after the game, just cornhole, drinking, burgers and hot dogs on the grill afterwards, because we won and we were all happy. But it was, we knew sort of that we didn't have a good feeling about Game 7 in Washington, and we kind of had feelings all right, it's over. So, and people were blasting Any Money, Huey Lewis in the News, Squeeze, Billy Squire. Name any 80s sort of Long Island rock band that would be huge on Long Island, and we were blasting. It was a great time. My hot take.
And I think that's pretty much all we have for this.
In this edition, yeah.
This edition. I think this is going to work.
Love it.
Definitely not short of ideas to
No.
talk about.
No, we're definitely not short of ideas.
All right, I guess till next time.
Till next time, I'm Matty Riz. Find me on Twitter at Matty Riz. Find me on Instagram at the Matty Riz. We got Jay-Z here. He's at JZider for Talksmen, and at for Talksmen. Follow, do what you got to do.
And remember, no glove, no love.